vision.
Ricemuncher versus HumbleGod.
All right, you guys, we are playing on the map Crosstown Rivalry. Very interesting map, kind of small, kind of like it. Let's introduce our players. On the right-hand side, in orange, playing the Wicked Witch of the West, Kindle, it is Ricemuncher. And on the left-hand side, in purple, playing the one-hit wonder, the CO who can't shoot anything unless it's right in front of him, Max, it is HumbleGod. All right, Advanced Force fans, let's kick this off here. Day number 1 for Ricemuncher. It's going to be infantry, pass the turn. HumbleGod going to move his unit across the bottom. Infantry, and pass the turn. Now, we're going to see very, very similar builds out of these players. Both of them are above 1300 MMR here in Fog of War, so we're probably going to see nearly identical plays here. Infantry units just going to capture those properties, building more infantry units. Day number 2, passing it over here to HumbleGod, and it's going to be what? Infantry, build, move. There we go. Very, very standard. It's almost mirror image here right now. Day number 3 here for Ricemuncher, moving his infantry units across the top of the map. And there we go. He's just making more infantry units. We do get our first recon of the match. This is pretty huge. Coming out here on this timing, we are most likely going to see the exact same play out of HumbleGod. I'll bet you it'll be almost identical. And here we go, passing the turn. Day number 3 for HumbleGod. He moves his infantry units across the bottom of the map, capturing basically the same properties and grabbing that one right there. And he's going to move that infantry unit, make himself a recon. There it is. And infantry units, look at that. Same standard play here, passing the turn over to Kindle. Day number 4 here. Ricemuncher going to kick us off and moving that recon unit straight up the road. Now, we've talked about this before, about how important vision is in Fog of War, that getting that recon unit as far across the map as possible to see what your opponent is doing is vital. Information is so important here, and we can see Ricemuncher is doing exactly that. Moving his infantry units more south down the map and capturing that property near his lab. That lab in these maps, when they don't have an HQ, these labs will actually act as the HQ. So if that lab is captured, then it is GG. I don't know why they don't just use an HQ. Not sure why it's a lab. Let me know in the comments down below if there's a reason for that specifically. Infantry unit moving across the top of the map there, and look at that. He makes more infantry units. Passing the turn over here, day number 4 for HumbleGod. Moving his infantry units basically in the exact same plan. Recon unit goes a slightly different direction this time. This is going to give HumbleGod the opportunity, if he continues to move it north there up on the map, if we continue to go this direction, it's going to give him vision on that comm tower and will give him the opportunity to know when his opponent is going to be grabbing that specifically. So I guess it's an interesting to see Ricemuncher decides to go to the middle of the map, where HumbleGod decides to go north on his part of the map. And look at that, infantry units finishing off some caps. This is good. And that's a wrap there. Day number 5 here, Ricemuncher's turn. It's going to launch us off here. Infantry units moving across the top here over to their recon units that are blocking the opponent's airports. Very cool in this map that you basically start off with that recon unit that gives you the vision of whether or not someone's going for their comm tower, but it also blocks their airport, which kind of means that you need to send a unit that can take their infantry or take out their recon in order to gain access to your airport. I like that. It's very interesting, basically a timing thing. So you can't just spam air units, which would actually be relatively broken on this map considering it's so small. Infantry units here for Ricemuncher, just moving across and capping those properties. Again, we're going to see, another recon unit here at the top of the map. Now, are we going to see HumbleGod reciprocate with the same style of build? You can see HumbleGod here moving to the north part of his map, and he blows up his recon down here. Now, we're going to see exactly why that is. I'm going to bet that the infantry unit's going to stand on top of that. I'm not sure why they would do that, though. Why would you want to get rid of that vision? Very interesting play here coming from these guys. HumbleGod going to move his infantry unit. So that's actually, he's deleting it so that he can capture it. That's exactly what's happening here. He's going to start the capture. Yes, he does. Makes sense. And infantry units capturing there. Kind of cool now that you have to capture your opponent's airport. I think that's really neat. I had a brain fart there. I pulled an Andy. I couldn't remember what an airport was. That's right. We all love that joke. And this is where we see a little bit of deviation. Finally, coming here at the end of day number 5, we have the recon unit coming from Ricemuncher, but a tank coming from HumbleGod there at the bottom part of the map. Same thing here. Ricemuncher blows up his recon unit, and he's going to move his infantry unit there to capture that airport. And we're going to start seeing the infantry units move closer and closer to the middle of the map. Recon unit there at the bottom, initiating our very first fight here so far. Recon unit taking out that infantry, and we've got the recon unit moving across the top. Also here, Ricemuncher pops out a tank of his own. He is going to be up though 1 recon, which is going to give Ricemuncher a little bit more vision. We're starting to see a little bit of deviation from these builds, which is great because that adds for fantastic content for us to enjoy. Again, more infantry moving them forwards, capping those properties, and passing the turn. Day number 6 here for Max, who is HumbleGod playing Max, not Max playing HumbleGod. It's the other way around. Recon unit there moving to the middle of the map to gain a little bit more information. You can see these things are slightly different. We've got the recon unit down here at the bottom that has moved. We went from the middle and worked its way down here to gain that, basically stopping him from, that's the comm tower. Harassment here. Very cool play from Ricemuncher. I like to see that. And we've got infantry units there. Tank is moving its way over. Infantry unit moving upwards there, capping the properties. Basically, we're just getting started here with our economy. And making more infantry units. We have the recon unit here to counter Ricemuncher's recon unit. It's interesting. You can see the difference in the timing on how these are coming out. Very, very cool. I like to see this. Ricemuncher's turn. What's he going to do here? We're going to start with finishing off the capping so far and moving infantry units to cap there at the top, and the recon unit there at the top moving its way slightly more to the left side. Now we're moving west here across the land. Tank is going to be following up here. You can see that these builds are very, very similar. We're going to have, Ricemuncher's going to have his recon unit in the way there too to prevent any sort of harassment on that comm tower capture. And producing more infantry, we're just going to build the recon units making a fallback here. Why? Because he probably saw the tank move into the trees. Basically just building some more infantry units there, passing the turn over here, day number 7 for HumbleGod. Let's see what he does. Moving those infantry units across the bottom and moving up a little bit on the top there. We're going to see the recon unit. Now, finally, we're going to see the recon unit here from HumbleGod going to see some information. This is actually pretty good here. We can see a couple units coming from Ricemuncher on their way into the middle of the map, so far capping those properties, but this actually gives HumbleGod some great information here right now. This is going to be tactically very important, just so that he knows the timings of where Ricemuncher is at currently. HumbleGod making that battlecopter there in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, and we're getting his recon unit moving across. Infantry units are crossing as well, and we're basically just starting to move our presence from the starting points and the factories into the middle of the map to gain our presence. Finishing off with producing some more infantry units and passing the turn here. Ricemuncher going to kick us off here with day number 8. And infantry units moving south. We're capping more properties. Still not going for that comm tower. This is typically the play. That's very, very common. Just going for that economy as much as possible. Tanks moving into position here. This is where we're starting to see some deviations on the build, and that's based on the information gathered from some of those other deviations, right? So as the recon units move into different positions, because their opening plays are a little bit different, the information they gather allows them to react accordingly to the information that they've gathered. So this is why you can see that the deviation is starting to change more and more drastically as these players move on. And we're looking good so far. Infantry units are just moving down. We're producing another tank and another tank. This is going to be a DPS advantage here over Ricemuncher so far. We're going to see if Max is going to follow up here. It doesn't look like he's got the same amount of economy, though. He doesn't have the opportunity here to build multiple tanks. But we do have that battlecopter moving in there. Big play there. That was a huge play. Taking out half of the HP on that recon unit there in the bottom right-hand corner. Looking pretty good. Another recon unit moving into the middle, and the tank showing up here. Just going to take out a free infantry unit. This is great. Great play here, actually, from HumbleGod, because what he was able to do is gather the information he needed from his recon unit to see if anything was threatening in the vicinity. He knows that there's going to be the standard tank play, probably up here or up here. He knows that there's going to be something in this area because it's basically standard. He moves his recon unit over. He sees that there is no tanks. Now, he doesn't know what's in the trees, but he's making an educated guess here by moving in his tank here. But he can also tell because he hasn't seen anything move into these trees either. So great play. It seems very small, but he's able to get a free kill here with no repercussion or chances of repercussion damage on his tank. It's looking good for HumbleGod. That's going to put him up 1 unit so far. Looking good. Infantry units moving into the middle of the map. Just going to assert his dominance as he continues. Infantry units are moving his way, and we've got an AA unit. All right, building an AA unit and some infantry, passing the turn here. Day number 9 for Ricemuncher. He's going to move his infantry. He's like, okay, so we know now it's time to cap that comm tower. I need to gain that damage advantage. I don't have too many units on the properties here right now to kind of mess things up. Recon unit there doing some damage here in the middle, and we're going to interrupt that cap here. Nice play from Ricemuncher. Well done, and he gets his tank on the property. This is where Kindle wants to be. Look at that one shot, that infantry. Boom, boom, boom. Takes it out, looking good. That was a big play here for Ricemuncher. Very much like to see that infantry unit here going to interrupt another cap. And infantry unit's going to back it up. We're going to do lots of damage here. He's just going to take it right out. So even though HumbleGod got that initial strike there with his tank at the beginning of day number, or the end there of day number 8, Ricemuncher was in the tactical position to get a little bit more here. Big unit swing there. You can see HumbleGod here 15 and Ricemuncher now at 17. Big plays. Anti-air unit is moving in here. This is just a preventative anti-air unit. Now, one of them early game, if you build a battlecopter, then there's a good chance that your opponent's going to build a battlecopter. He sees here now that there isn't a battlecopter as he moves his infantry on top of that mountain. He can see here that there isn't a battlecopter as he moves his infantry unit on top of that mountain to gain that additional vision. Realizes there isn't one there, but he has an anti-air unit anyway. Now, this is just one of those gut feeling builds where you just make an anti-air unit. Not that big of a deal. They are good at taking out infantry as long as you're able to protect them and keep them in the back. Not that bad. Any more than one without any information is a little bit dangerous. So far, things are looking good here for HumbleGod. Even though he took a bit of a pounding on that last turn, I think everything's going to be okay. You can see here right now he's protecting that AA unit, and he's moving in here. He's going to do some damage to some infantry units. And things are great. Infantry unit there in the middle of the map, going to capture some properties and moving things up. Recon unit moving his way onto the properties there at the bottom. Going to give him good vision, and we're capping that comm tower there at the bottom as well. Infantry units and another tank here produced by HumbleGod, and we're going to pass the turn. Day number 10 here, Ricemuncher. Going to kick us off, makes his anti-air unit. We can see that looking good. And infantry unit just going to be there. Basically, this 1 HP one is just going to be here mainly for scouting and that sense of blocker. Sometimes you want to combine your infantry, but most often than not, it's better to just leave them there as a blocker. It takes up an extra attack turn from your opponent, so having these 1 HP infantry units, nothing wrong with that. They can't do a whole lot of stuff, but they can still get in the way and essentially body block. Looking great here. Infantry units moving into the trees there. Basically just getting some map presence here, and boom. And Ricemuncher comes in with his own battlecopter there in the top left-hand corner as well. Looking great here. Tanks are starting to move into the presence. You can see that HumbleGod was moving into the middle, and now that Ricemuncher has been able to gain a little bit more control, he's managed to push this line back more in this direction, which is okay, except for the fact that HumbleGod's going to be able to kind of tighten up his units and then go for a massive push on his own to gain some map control as well. So just keep that in the back of the mind, even though it looks like Ricemuncher is dominating the map at this specific moment. The unit count is even, and as Ricemuncher continues to push, he's going to get more and more spread out. So keep that in mind. Infantry units and tanks are moving their way down the map, and anti-air units. Ricemuncher building himself another tank there at the top. Infantry units being produced everywhere. You can see Ricemuncher falling back there a little bit at the end of his turn, and then passing it over to HumbleGod. Day number 10 for him. He's going to get his turn now to respond to anything that Ricemuncher has done. Recon unit falls back, still giving out great vision. Going to be able to see if anything moves into these trees here right now because of where the recon has vision is basically cutting right across here. So anything that moves into those trees is going to be spotted. That's actually a great place to be, provided that he's able to look back at the replay, essentially, if he's not in the game actively right now, which as of most of the time they are not. These are not live games. These are taken over weeks sometimes. to be handled here. Infantry units are moving around the map. He's just getting a little bit more position. You can see the wall here starting. He's going to back his units up and create that wall to protect his tanks, and he's going to kind of move that wall out, pressuring here. We got another tank coming in here from Mr. HumbleGod and spending his money efficiently, getting himself another infantry unit. Day number 11 here now for Ricemuncher. Going to start us off here for infantry units there at the top, moving there, finishing a cap as well. We've got a tank shot there. Oh, manages to take it out, looking good. Ricemuncher just dominating that bottom corner of the map here. AA's moving in, and it's gonna be there in position to handle that. I love that. He's hiding that in those bushes here. This AA unit just chilling right here. Not sure anything saw it, actually. I don't think HumbleGod's got anything to give vision of what's in those trees here right now. So that's going to be a good situation here for Ricemuncher. It's going to be able to take care of that battlecopter when it applies some pressure. You can see the battlecopter there at the top of the map here for Ricemuncher is moving its way into the middle of the map, going to assert its dominance and its presence here. Great plays coming from Ricemuncher here right now. He's absolutely covering fantastic positions there on the map. Puts in a recon unit into those trees there. He's not going to, HumbleGod's not going to be able to see anything that moved in there. He doesn't have any units in position. Ricemuncher making 2 tanks and passing the turn to Mr. HumbleGod here. It is going to be day number 11 for him. Let's see what he decides to do. Finishes off capping his comm tower there with his 9 HP infantry unit. Does take an extra turn there because of the damage there. Infantry unit's just going to take this, pop it out, boom, boom. Ricemuncher coming in there, going to cap that property in the middle of the map. Battlecopter moving across the bottom. This is a good play. HumbleGod suspects that there is probably some AA there, and because he's unable to dominate that map presence here at the moment, he decides to fall back with his battlecopter, which is exactly the right play. Moving over here onto the left, HumbleGod able to take a battle there, a little bit of a skirmish on a mountain into a forest. So he does have those terrain stars coming from that mountain engagement. Great play there. And tank moving into the middle, looking good. Battlecopter moving its way over to the west side, the left side of the map here. Tanks moving in as well. Looking like HumbleGod's going to start reinforcing that left-hand side, or the right-hand side there, and going to make some fight happen here relatively soon. Finishing off with 2 tanks as well. Very similar turns from these guys. I like the little bit of skirmish here happening. And passing the turn over here. Day number 12 here for Ricemuncher. Infantry unit. I love that. 1 HP unit. He keeps it alive and puts it onto the mountain. Gives great vision here. This is fantastic here. Infantry units just kind of moving all over the place here right now. Recon unit going to do some damage to that infantry unit there on the top. Fantastic play there for Ricemuncher. Gets his attack order there properly. He knows the recon unit is going to take a lot less damage, so he strikes with that first and then moves the infantry unit in to finish it off and going to capture the HQ cap here right now. Huge plays from Mr. HumbleGod. This is basically there's a chance that this could land. Highly unlikely, though, because the AA is right here to do some damage. We have this infantry unit to interrupt that cap, but it is going to apply some pressure here right now because HumbleGod doesn't have the vision he needs to see what kind of units are backing this up. This is scary. This could mean, for a newer player, it could be a full retreat, right? He's like, I'm going to pull this whole thing here and just move it all over to the left side of the map and make sure I protect my HQ. It's responding correctly is going to be important here. Sending that anti-air unit in there to get as much information as possible before he commits too many units is going to be very, very important here, making sure that he gets the right play. Too many units is going to be bad. It's going to put him at a disadvantage elsewhere, but not enough units, he's going to lose his HQ. Look at that, a little bit of a fallback there. So good bait, going for that HQ cap, so to speak, the lab cap, and then moving the battlecopter out of the way. I like that. Tank coming in here to get a free shot, and then we're moving into the trees. This is looking like a great setup here for Ricemuncher right now. We just got tank after tank after tank after tank. You can see here right now he's got 7 tanks built right now, max. HumbleGod's only got 5. So we'll see here on the next turn. Obviously, Ricemuncher has the first turn advantage in terms of unit count, so his number should almost always be higher, provided engagements weren't taken incorrectly. And let's see what we got going down here. AA unit moving into the trees, just getting into a better position, realizes there's nothing down there. Another tank and an infantry unit passing the turn. Day number 12 here for HumbleGod. He's going to get his battlecopter in here to get a shot, but boom! Look at that, 6 HP damage. That's pretty huge, to be honest, and we're actually going to take it out completely. This is a bold strategy, considering that HumbleGod doesn't know where that AA unit is. Going to get a shot there. Manages to do substantial damage, actually, considering that Ricemuncher has his tank on this property right here. The missile base, that gives 3 stars, so he still managed to do a substantial amount of damage there. believe it or not. AA unit, great shot there, doing a lot of damage. Infantry unit here is going to take out and do some damage to the other infantry unit, and we're going to move in and try and take a property cap here as well. This has been great. This is really back and forth. One guy caps a property, then loses a property, then blows up an infantry and takes a property, and oh, what a skirmish coming here from HumbleGod here right now. He's just dumping everything he's got right now to try and take out those tanks, doing some serious damage to Ricemuncher there in the middle right of the map. And Gabango, look at that, using his infantry to try and take another 10% HP off of that tank. I love to see it. Tanks and tanks and tanks and tanks. Lots of tanks coming out of here out of HumbleGod. Let's do a quick check up here. 6 tanks for Ricemuncher and 7 tanks for HumbleGod. That's because Ricemuncher lost one due to the great plays coming here from HumbleGod. And we activate the CO power. Urban Blight is kicking in here right now. This is pretty huge. And we managed to get a little bit of damage done here. Not too many units you can see here right now, though. Not too many units on the properties. We took some damage on these tanks down here because of that. But other than that, the only other unit that's on the city is this infantry unit right here. Otherwise, everything else is off. So even though we popped the steel power, big whiff there from Ricemuncher, not doing nearly as much damage as he would have liked for sure. And just figuring that out here right now. This is interesting play here. He's moving his infantry units down there to protect the airport. And look at that. We're going for that hostile cap down here, though. I love it. Love this here right now. We moved in this other infantry unit to protect the unit that's capping. This infantry unit isn't going to be able to get through the water to get close enough to do any damage. So this is actually a huge play from Ricemuncher. He might be able to capture both airports in this specific instance of the game. He's managing to do some serious damage here. Manages to get a nice shot here from one of the cities, which is exactly what you want to do as a Kindle. Try and get that city damage. AA unit coming in here. Boom, pow. Takes out that battlecopter. Another great little skirmish there on the left-hand side of the map. Infantry units moving on top of that mountain. This is something that Ricemuncher's been doing very, very well. Taking his 1 HP infantry units and putting them on mountains, putting them in trees, trying to use them for vision and data information and intel gathering. Very nice to see. We can see here Ricemuncher going to fall back with his tank. Try and keep it alive, give it a little bit of HP boost there, a little bit of repairing. Something you want to make sure that you consider is when you're starting to plan out your turns is you want to make sure that your repairs aren't going to influence the amount of units that you can build in your turn. Something that I'm sure these players absolutely calculate on a regular basis. Moving that battlecopter that was just created across. I'm loving this air superiority that Ricemuncher has here right now. Very good situation for him to be in. And we're going to build ourselves a tank and an AA unit and pass the turn. Day number 13 here now for Max. This is looking pretty good. AA unit sitting on the HQ, basically on that lab, and he activates the CO power. Max coming in here with his Max Blast. Looking good. Now we know that things are popping off. It's coming in here, going to take out that AA unit. Oh my god, max damage. Just boom, 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 boom. Battlecopter there in the middle, going to get some damage in, followed up with the tank looking dope. YOLO Swaggins, all sorts of units are dying here right now. Great amount of damage being dealt here. This great superpower coming from HumbleGod. It's going to take out some units here. Ricemuncher lost a significant amount of map presence there in these skirmishes, which is very common, of course, when the seals pop their power. There's usually a pretty steady decrease in units on the map, obviously depending on what their seal power does. You can see here HumbleGod taking his infantry unit, falling back. He's realized that he's going to lose his airport, and this is not a situation he wants to be in. But rather than just sacrificing that unit, he's going to bring it into safety. Passing the turn over here, Ricemuncher going to kick us off here with day number 14. Moving across for that comm tower. This is scary. Goes for the HQ cap on one side, and now he's going for that comm tower cap on the other side. Recon unit low on gas, but he is going to initiate combat with that infantry unit there in the middle of the map of HumbleGod's trying to capture his property here at the moment. Looking good. This is a great little fight here right now. Absolutely fantastic. Tanks taking on battles here. It's a great shot. Any opportunity the Kindle has to attack from a city is always good. Getting on those properties and dealing damage. Ricemuncher's just making some pain here right now. I'm loving to see this. This is absolutely great map control here coming from Ricemuncher here at the moment. Tanks are just moving in. They're just like, pow, I'll just take this one. Pow, I'll take that one. Take a pot shot here, pot shot there. Looking really good here right now. And boom! Medium tank coming out here. Pa-pow, pa-pow. This is the big man plays. Let's see if Ricemuncher is able to capitalize on this medium tank and get some stuff done. Trapped. Oh, Ricemuncher going in for some information gathering and manages to get trapped there on the left-hand side. Manages to build his medium tank and infantry unit and passes the turn. Day number 14 here for Mr. HumbleGod. He is going to manage to get a battlecopter shot there. I like to see it. And boom. HumbleGod has resigned. Interesting. I wasn't expecting the end of the map there. I think we were boogieing really good, though. You can see, though, here that the unit count is relatively skewed here. 21 down to 13. I'm thinking that's what HumbleGod had realized, is that the unit count was just down so much, that he lost so much that he realized that he probably doesn't have a chance to come back. Let me know if you guys in the comments down below, is this one of those maps, is this one of those games where HumbleGod could have pulled back, reassessed the situation, taken a defensive position, and then regrouped and pushed out? I mean, there is a gold lead of 3,000 right now, which means that's 3,000 per turn, which is difficult to come back unless you already have the forces. It's going to give Ricemuncher a lead. However, there are only 2 factories, so that just means that bigger units are going to come out sooner, which can be countered by indirects. We know this. So let me know what you guys think down below, whether or not Mr. HumbleGod had an opportunity here to make something happen or not. Guys, thank you so much for watching Synergy Gaming TV. My name is Synergy, and we'll catch you guys on the flip side.